Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming in today on this call. I'll keep letting people in the background, but conscious of everyone's time. It's a work, so we will just press on. I've got everybody on mute for the time being. Just want to run through what you can expect today. What we're going to do is I'm just going to share a quick slide with you where if you like, you can take notes. It's going to last about a minute. And then we've been quite good in the sense that we've got some questions in already from some people when you registered. So I'm going to pick up a few of those questions and address them. There are some which go into a lot of personal detail in some form, I feel, and because this is a recorded webinar, I don't want to sort of bring them up because I feel if your spouse or partners or friends or family end up watching it, they may pick up on who it is. So I may not share those, okay? But I'm picking up on the ones that really sort of ring a bell and seem to be a big sort of priority for everyone, and they will help. Following that, of course, we'll open up to more Q&As. Now, this webinar is not about me and what I do, so I won't go into promoting myself. It's primarily my focus on trying to sort of build more awareness about mental health, the benefits of therapy as a whole, and also removing the stigma around therapy, and possibly be able to sort of convey to you what options you have in case you need further help as well. Okay, so I will kick off with the first question. And it's a hot one. It did come in later, but it sort of seems to repeat itself quite a bit. So I'll begin with that right now. It is, how do you trust yourself again after a severe burnout? And the person here has mentioned they burnt out in 2012 as a student. It was traumatic, lonely experience. I think one of the important things here is to remember that burnout is a result of a direct sort of emotional or physical pressure, and it can happen to everybody. The other most important thing is, because I mean I can go into the symptoms of burnout, but that's not what the question is about. The question is about more, how do I trust myself after the burnout? And what's very important is two things. One, remember the reason you have that burnout is because it's got nothing to do with you. It's your environment. It's something that creates that trauma, be it that physical or emotional trauma, which then leads you to the burnout. The second thing that's very important to remember is this. You have to accept that and acknowledge it, that, okay, this has happened. And the second thing, as part of that, what I suggest everyone does is then create boundaries so that, one, you move yourself away from potential triggers for that burnout happening again. Once you've accepted it, you acknowledge that, okay, this is why it happened, and now I can prevent myself from doing that. Now, the other important thing is that burnout can be a result of something deep. It can be a deep trauma, and it affects everyone very differently. Seeking professional help is very important because you want to try and get to the root cause of that burnout. Now, for instance, the root cause could be my boss is a pain in the ass, overburdens me, and it led me to this situation. Now, that's okay. But remember, in this scenario, your boss is not really the root cause. The root cause is why you were not able to manage yourself when your boss became that way, or what led you to believe that your boss can do this to you. Now, burnout could be at home as well. So it could be between a husband and wife. It could be because of pressure with children, whatever it is. When I say root cause, the root cause is always why you have the belief which led it to a stage of you being exposed to that burnout, to be exposed to that trauma. So once you've understood that, and that can be done through therapy, it can be done through RTT, which is what I do as well. Once you've understood that, then it's very easy for you to be able to separate yourself and then move forward and pull yourself away from that and make sure it doesn't happen again. So I hope to some degree that's kind of answered the question. Now, if you're on this call and you ask me this question, I'll just give you a couple of seconds to sort of raise your hand and sort of, ask me a little bit more if you need to, otherwise I will press on. Okay, so then go ahead. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted now. Yeah, thank you for that. That was very helpful. I think it's more about recognize that there were some beliefs that were underlying as to like why I should give more of myself, why it's never enough. And I feel like I've done quite a lot of work since then, also with, various therapists and professionals. But there's just this kind of subconscious thing that just keeps niggling, there's just this fear, like if I take on more work, then there's the fear, it's just like I keep banging up against it. Even though I know it's not rational, because my life is nowhere near the same as it used to be back when that happened. But it's more subconscious, I think, because it even when I think, when it's not so much actively part of my waking life, like it shows up in my dreams, in my dreams, I'm back at uni and I'm stuck and I know I can't do it, but I can't escape, that kind of thing.
Now, that's really good. I'm glad you said that. May I ask you real quick, what therapies have you tried?
Oh, so many different ones. I've stuck. Well, like there's just the regular psychotherapy, which is more mainstream, but I've also done things like energy healing, hypnosis, things like that, mindfulness.
Okay. I mean, I would say the most sort of important one in the ones you've mentioned is probably hypnosis. Hypnosis is great because it will help you reframe and move forward. Okay. To sort of, reframe your mind to think differently, use better language and so on and so forth, right? Can be sustainable. But like I said, what it seems like is that there is a much deeper root cause of why you ended up there.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with the pressure you experienced at that time. It's why you were not able to manage that pressure. And that's what we really have to go to. And I'm really, really sorry. I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch, but in RTT, one of the processes we use is regression. And that is when you're under that state of hypnosis, we work with the subconscious mind to go back in time to explore the when, where, and how. That is where the true understanding comes. And then we're able to reframe that from the root cause and sort of take it forward. So, I mean, from the therapies you've mentioned, hypnosis is very good. Psychotherapy, you're right, it's more mainstream. It'll help you sort of express yourself. It has its purpose, but it won't really solve your problem per se. Okay. I mean, I hope I've been able to answer it to some degree.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, cool. All right, so if you go ahead and mute yourself, what I'm going to do is I had a single slide that I wanted to share with everybody a little bit later, but I feel I should share it now. And the reason for that is because I think we're going to be reflecting on these 6 things that I'm going to be mentioning quite a lot. And it may be worthwhile you guys taking a note of it. So let me just share this real quick. It'll only take us 2 or 3 minutes, hopefully. Okay, can everyone see this slide? Yeah? Good, excellent. We've got one more person joining in. Okay, so these are a few rules of the mind. And I think if you could just sort of absorb these a little bit, they will help you in pretty much anything you may be experiencing or you may have observed in your work environment and other people experience, and you can share this with them as well. Okay, so first of all, the mind learns through repetition. So what we tell our mind repeatedly, our mind's job is to take us there, to make it happen. So when we tell ourselves, for instance, I can't do this, I'm not able to do this, I'm not capable of doing this, our mind believes that is what we want. And it will take us there. So it may result in procrastination. It may result in us feeling fatigued and tired and lazy and so on. Instead of going down that route, we need to tell our mind a different story. We need to change the wording around it. So it needs to go from I can't to I can. I'll try to I will. And I always tell my clients when they say, I'm going to try and do my best, there is no try. You either will or you won't, because your mind doesn't understand the gray space in between. Your mind only understands black and white. So you either will or you won't. And when you repeatedly tell your mind that, and Suzanne, you may have experienced this when you did hypnosis, it's the repetition that reframes the mind. The second one is, in a battle between emotion and logic, emotions will always win because they are much more powerful. And the mind sort of works with feelings, okay? And emotions are created by the words we use. So just remember this, the words we use give birth to our feelings. Our feelings then create our beliefs. And our beliefs are then what results in our actions. So feelings are very powerful. Okay? Your mind works to move from pain to pleasure. This is incredible because you see, your mind doesn't understand the difference between pain and pleasure. What you want, it believes is your pleasure, which is quite often why sometimes people, resolve to drinking excessively, because they feel that once they are in that state, they are more relaxed, they can be more social, they can be more chatty, crack jokes. But in the background, what they're not dealing with is the core problem, which is taking them to that pleasure. So when it comes to a certain point of the day, your mind says to you, let's go and have a drink. You enjoy drinking, you get social, you have fun. So let's just drink. Okay, so the mind doesn't know the difference, but one of its job is to take you from pain towards pleasure. So change the relationship you have with the pain and the relationship you have with the pleasure. A great example of that is with a client of mine who resolves to drinking because they felt that, yes, it took them away from the pain of dealing with a very messy divorce, angry children, angry parents, extended family not wanting to meet them, because when they get drunk now, she doesn't have to deal with that, but she still has an open life. She has friends who do want to socialize with her. They go out drinking every night and they have fun. And sometimes they take advantage of her. She realizes that when she's sober. So we have to change the relationship. What is the new relationship? Well, the pain is that when I drink, I don't have my children. I don't have my family. I can't hold my job. That is the pain. And that's something I don't want. So you change that relationship around to, when I don't drink, I will have my children. I will have my family. I will have trust and people will love me. And then that takes you forward into a new relationship. So remember, the mind's job is to take you away from pain, bring you towards pleasure. Whatever you focus on, you get more of. That goes back to the very first point of the mind loves repetition. And what I explained there is what we tell our mind to do, its job is to take us there. Every thought you think causes a physical reaction and an emotional response. So similarly to what I explained before, our words create our feelings create our beliefs, and our beliefs then result in our actions. And unfortunately, quite a lot of the times, whatever is holding us back today or creating the trauma or creating the stress, we were not born with it. Just remember that. We acquire it during the journey of our life. And when we acquire something, the most important thing to remember is that you can let it go. Okay, so we have to change that thought, and we get conditioned from a very young age. And unfortunately, the worst conditioning begins right at birth with our parents. And because there's no sort of rule book on how to parent well, they do the best they can, but we don't have a choice over so many things. And that carries on right up until our adulthood, when we are able to choose for ourselves. So just remember, your thoughts have a big impact on where you go. Now, your mind wants to stay with what is familiar while avoiding what is not familiar, okay? Because it's easy. It's easy for our mind to work with, oh, you know what, let's just have some snacks and munch while we're watching a movie, although we've had our dinner, because it's easy, it's comforting. Okay. And in this case, what I often tell my clients to do is make the convenient inconvenient. So let the phone not be the last thing you look at before you go to sleep. And how can you avoid that? You can switch your phone off, put it in the furthest corner of your room, and then go to bed, because then you'll be too lazy to go out and get it. So make the convenient inconvenient. So a quick example on that. All right. And let's close this slide and come back to our questions. Okay, then I have something around time management, a simple solution for that. I don't know if you haven't, this is a great a fix for time management, block calendaring. Now, what I find for myself that works, and it works with pretty much every client I've explained this to, is use your calendar, not a to-do list. In my opinion, to-do lists set you up for failure. Why? Because you keep adding to them, they never finish. What the mind needs to know at the end of the day is that it has achieved something. So use block calendaring. I even put a phone call 5-minute slot in my calendar. One, I get it done. Two, it helps me manage my time. And at the end of the day, when I see all of that day's finished, I really feel that I've accomplished something. And that is the case with everyone. For time management, block calendaring is very, very helpful. Let me see now. I I've got some incredible question here, but again, I think it's too personal. I won't be able to bring it up here. Now, I've been meditating for around 6 months and still find it difficult. Is it really supposed to help me connect with my inner voice? So here's the thing. Remember, we have to set ourselves up for success with everything we do. And when it comes to meditation, we set ourselves up for failure in many cases because in general, people actually believe that we need to go into some trance, into this space that helps us float and makes us feel as if we're levitating. No, meditation is not about being good at meditating. It's about being good at life. And while you're meditating, if you're going to try and tell your mind not to be distracted, don't. It doesn't work. Telling your mind not to be distracted is like trying to tell your heart to stop beating. It's not going to happen. Meditation is there to help you improve your life the way you live it. It's a healing process. It's not a learning process, it's a healing process. So when you are meditating, let your mind drift. But what you can rest with is this. The more you do it, the more focused you become. It's not about going into a trance. It's just about having that time to breathe, to ground yourself, giving your body, your mind the opportunity to recharge. That's all it is. Okay, so set yourself up for success when it comes to meditation. Keep it very simple. Don't force yourself. Don't have any expectations. Just focus on your breathing, focus on slowing down and relaxing. And if you can meditate for even 20 minutes in the middle of the day, what it can do is potentially increase your productivity for the rest of the day by about 30%. So meditation in the morning, in the afternoons is fantastic. Remember, it's never there to put you to sleep. It's there to recharge you. Okay. And if you do it regularly enough, it has a number of different sort of healing powers. All right. Morning anxiety. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. So if you are the person who sent me in, it just says morning anxiety, raise your hand. I'll be happy to sort of have you elaborate a little bit more on that. No. Okay, let's move forward. How do we disconnect ourselves mentally, time to time, from the stress of difficult family relationships, to focus on oneself and regain our energy, to have a better frame of mind? Okay, this is also, this is a deeper thing. It's it's a little vague, but what I can tell you is this. When you find yourself in situations, again, family, again, we need to work deeper on that and figure out what it is. But when you want to be able to distract yourself from, for instance, again, binge eating, even though you had dinner and you have a weight problem, and you're sitting there and you're doing that unaccountable eating, watching a movie, the mind is very easy to distract. It's like a toddler. It'll be focused on one thing, and then as soon as you create a distraction, it will go in the other direction by itself. So what you can do in that instance is, I always say, stop, pause, and breathe. If you just take out 60 seconds just for yourself. And if you haven't heard of square breathing, or it's also known as box breathing, I'll explain to you what it is. It's breathing at the count of 5, pausing, exhaling at the count of 5, and pausing. So just if you imagine drawing a box in front of yourself. So you're breathing in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. If you can manage that for about 60 seconds, trust me, it will pretty much distract you from anything. And then, of course, if you are, working with a therapist and whatever it is, or a coach, use those techniques that they may have shared with you to try and help you distract yourself. But for more long-term healing and better management of how you respond from family relationships, dynamics, environment, that's much deeper work. Again, I would suggest seeking out a coach or a therapist of sorts, and then taking it from there. All right. So those are the sort of main questions that I felt I could share. Now I'm open to anyone else asking me questions. We have about 10 minutes left. Go ahead, Zara. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So, okay. So the thing is, like, we were talking about burnout and whether it's at work or whether it's in your, personal space or whatever. What I feel with me is that uh, I have a difficulty in saying no
Mm-hmm.
or like setting boundaries, right? I will push myself because I feel that I'm like the caregiver in whatever role I am. Like I have to fulfill those things. And I keep telling myself, like you said, the mind, like if I'm anxious about it, I'll tell myself, it's okay, you're going to get through this. It's going to happen good. And it does happen in a good way. It's not like it's going to mess up or anything, but just that anxiety that I go through in that time during
Mm-hmm.
that period,
Mm-hmm.
and secondly, like, I'll give you an example. I've been working for 9 years, right? So work stress was different, but my family at home, they knew that I was not available from certain timings, like I was away at work. So they wouldn't like bother me or call me up like that. Now I'm at home and everybody just thinks that, oh, she's free, she's available. So is that like I'm constantly on call for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I push myself, and then there comes a point where I'm like totally burned out, and then my reaction is not nice because then I'll snap and I'll just not put it out in a good way. So
Sure.
how do you set boundaries and not take stress, let go of things in a manner that it doesn't offend other people as well, yet
Mm-hmm.
you have your say also?
Okay. So, question, and you covered quite a lot, so I'm going to try and sort of do the best I can. First of all, it's important to first recognize the difference between stress and burnout. Okay. Now, just a few sort of examples there, because you have to be able to tell, first of all, identify for yourself whether you've actually burnt out or are you experiencing stress/anxiety. Okay. So, first of all, stress, it's characterized by over engagement, whereas burnout is characterized by disengagement. Okay. In stress, emotions are overreactive. In burnout, emotions are blunted. In stress, you have a loss of energy. In burnout, you have a loss of motivation, a loss of ideals, a loss of hope. So you can also say, let me see. So stress leads to anxiety disorders, whereas burnout leads to detachment and depression. So I think you'll start to sort of see some of the differences between the two. So you first have to identify for yourself, okay, am I burnt out because that's a lot more severe? Or am I just getting stressed out or experiencing anxiety? And even between the difference between stress and anxiety, stress is something you experience after 2, 3 hours, you're over it. Stress through driving or, traffic. Okay. When you reach home, you're okay. Anxiety is something that will linger with you for days. It's something that will make you overthink, ruminate. Okay. So it's important first to identify for yourself, am I actually burnt out or am I experiencing a lot of stress? Which of the two do you feel it is?
Currently, stress and like anxious. Like when I come back, like even if I've done the deal,
Okay.
the anxiousness does not leave me. It's still there, nagging.
Okay. So, in order to sort of deal with your stress, again, on this sort of short call, a quick hack that I've already shared, I would say take that moment for some breath work. Breath work and mindfulness will help you a great deal. If you feel you're walking into a stressful situation, it could be a very important presentation in front of the board, for example. Just do 10 minutes of breath work. Again, that same square breathing. Even if you do it for 2 to 3 minutes, you will see the remarkable changes it brings about within you. If you can also, as a daily practice, I usually recommend doing this after lunch, so around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Just give yourself 20 minutes to just relax on a couch, close your eyes. You don't even have to have a nap. Just close your eyes and just breathe regularly and slow yourself down. That in general will start to, over time, reduce your stress levels as well. Okay. Again, for more sustainable work, yes, hypnosis is a fantastic thing. Something else that I do, hypnosis is fantastic for sort of just an overlay of stress management, reframing. NLP is another great thing that you could possibly look into. Okay, but breath work, mindfulness, giving yourself that time to just unwind is very, very important, very helpful. Okay, I have a question here. Is the only way to manage, this is a good question, is the only way to manage triggers staying away from them? What can one do when triggers are an everyday constant in your life? Okay, so you can't stay away from triggers. That's your environment. It's there whether you like it or not. However, you can learn to mitigate the triggers. You can also learn how to better manage the symptoms those triggers create. Okay, and now there's a number of ways to do that. What I would recommend is trying to do a journal. So for example, the next 7 days, what you can do is journal right at the end of the day when you're in bed just before going to sleep. I get many of my clients to do this and it works like a charm. For different reasons, I get them to do it. But for this in particular, what I recommend is you take a note of, pick out just 3 things that happened that day, which triggered you to go into the direction you didn't want to go into. It could be, I got stuck in traffic. My children didn't listen to me when I had to leave school and it made me late and da, for example. So 3 things that you felt triggered you. And then after that, I would like you to then just reflect, take a few minutes to reflect on each one of those things and say, okay, well, you know what? When I got stuck in traffic, actually, I know it happens every day. So tomorrow I'm actually going to take a different route, or I'm going to leave at a different time, or something of that nature. What can I do to solve the trigger? So now here we are now going towards mitigating the triggers. Okay. In the same way, my children, stressed me out this morning because they weren't leaving for school. One wasn't having breakfast on time, the other one wasn't getting changed in time. What can I do? Find the solution on how you can try and actually fix that. Once you've found that solution, here's the 3rd step. Think of, I've taken that route. I got there on time, stress-free. How does that make me feel? So just visualize yourself in that place and think of how it made you feel. And then go through that feeling repeatedly. Remember, our mind loves repetition. So what will start happening over time, and this brings me to when I teach people how to do self-hypnosis, it's whatever you are in that mind of changing. I want to change how I react when I get stuck in traffic. And when I feel differently, this is what I experience. These are the feelings I have. It makes me smile. It makes me calm. It makes me productive at work, whatever it is. And then visualize that. Be in that moment. Do it every night. And you will see your mind will start getting used to finding solutions versus taking you into the problem. Okay, good. I have another one here. Okay, someone's just sharing numbers, been life-changing journey, anxiety, depression, so I actually didn't made it too. Yep, there you go. Excellent. Thank you, Maria, for sharing that. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? We've got 3 minutes left. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask me any questions you have. That's my timer. Okay. Well, I really hope the session was useful and it wasn't too intrusive in your day. I hope it was a suitable time. I'm hoping to be able to do this once a month. So please do spread the word. Like I said, my sort of primary aim here is to remove the stigma around therapy and be able to share any sort of momentary hacks that I can with you. After this, you will get a quick email just to sort of ask you if you do need further help. By all means, get in touch with me. And I think you either found me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Don't hesitate to send me questions every now and then if you do just need some advice or suggestions. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. You can log off. I'll leave the chat running for a couple of minutes because there's some good things that are coming up. If someone wants to log off, by all means, you can. Someone has asked me a question here. Thanks. When you speak of the mind needing recharging, doesn't recharging happen in sleep, but how does it work if there's no deep sleep? Yes, recharging does happen during sleep, provided it boils down to the quality of that sleep. But recharging can happen anytime during the day. You'll be surprised to learn even when you go for a run, you're actually recharging your body, and depending on the time you go for that run. So running or actually sort of releasing or doing an exercise which releases a lot of energy in the mornings is fantastic because it alerts your system for the rest of the day. It will make you work at peak performance for about 4 hours. So I generally go for my run in the morning. I have cold showers in the morning. I do all of that in the morning because it creates a heck of a lot of clarity. It gives you about, believe it or not, if you can manage your morning routine and get that energy exit in the morning, you can increase your productivity by almost 200% for that morning half of your day. So what I used to be able to do in 6 or 7 hours, I get done in 3 hours. So then I'm creating more time, and that's of course the most valuable commodity. And again, while I'm saying I do this for myself, when I coach my clients, I share the same sort of similar principles depending on their situation, and every single time, they have an amazing response. Okay, so I think that was the last of it. Great. Well, look, again, thank you all very, very much. And if I do this again, I hope to make it a regular thing. You will, of course, know about it. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.